Okay. Hello. We didn't have audio there.
No.
Everything defaulted for some reason. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our speedrun showcase of the story category for Monk. This is a showcase of our upcoming speedrun marathon. It's going to be July 8th, and the weekend of July 8th. The marathon name is going to be Summer in Shoreline, and right now we're just doing a few teaser speedruns on the channel to get people interested in the event. And second of all, here we're going to have Nanoferret doing the story category for Monk. And, right, I'll leave it off to you now. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. As I said, this is the story percent, which is a little different than what you would imagine for base game. As Downpour was released back in January, it allowed Monk to, or gave Monk a proper story that it runs through, as well as an alternate ending, which is in this category what we go for to beat the game / finish the run. So I'm going to go ahead and start the run, and I'm going to let the first cutscene play to give those who maybe have not seen this game before get a little bit of context as to generally what the little thing for Monk is. And I will say that for those who don't know, Rainworld is a like survival platformer game. So you have to run around, grab food, and run away from creatures that want to eat you, as well as continue through the world and explore. This is an open world game, and we will hopefully be able to make some very interesting choices as to where we are going. And yeah, we will get going here. So, yes, we are going to be playing Monk. My buttons are in the wrong area, but we will fix that. We are currently looking for our sibling to start with. And as you continue on, the story gets a little more involved and complicated as things go on, but such is the nature of things like this. So for now, we are going to go through this quick tutorial section here, and I will elaborate a little more. So something that is interesting is that Rainworld is a physics-based game with a lot of very important movements. So you'll see me hopping around and doing rolls and stuff like that, because while this game not only has, your common like moves and jumps, grabbing items, throwing them, if I can get this going, there we go. You can also do things like rolls and pounces and jumps to get to places you normally wouldn't be able to. So right now we need to get some food so that we can sleep, I'm going to go ahead and just come up here because, as you can see in the bottom left corner, Monk needs about 3 food to be able to properly sleep. And the reason for that is that the rain here is incredibly deadly. So at the end of every day, the rain comes and it crushes anything underneath it because it is in such a vast amount. So we have to clamber into these little shelters and rest and get some safety away from the deadly elements here and there. So here's where we do our first little glitch, and it's going to be called, or it is called, goodness, can't speak, karma caching, which is an exploit based upon how the game saves when you starve. Essentially, the game saves your karma, which is that little symbol on the bottom left, as well as any passage progress, which is the Steam achievements that you can gain in the game. So what happens is it will save your passage progress, your achievement progress, and as well as your karma symbol, which we will need later on, and doesn't save anything else, such as like your position, where you slept, and so when you wake up and you quit out of the game, there's a 30-second grace period, so you don't lose that funny little symbol in the bottom left. And we runners use that and quit out of the game as soon as the game loads up on a starve cycle, so that we can retain our karma, but also get forward in a few days in a very quick motion, without having to run around and catch food that tries to run away from you, and so on and so forth. It's very, very simple, very easy, and pretty much the preferred method. So the reason I'm doing this for so long is that I need some of those achievements. I'm currently going for the Mortar achievement, which is starve for so many cycles. And we're going to use that later on because the achievements allow you to essentially fast travel to any shelter that you have previously visited. It's not going to come up currently, but it is something we're going to have to store for later on. So now that we have gotten our achievement, I will show it here in a moment. Currently, the game has saved that we are at 5 karma and that we have currently gotten the Martyr achievement. You can see in the bottom it says you're starving, the game is not saved. Everything except for the achievement and the symbol is not saved. So when we quit out, we go back to not starving and existing kind of as we are. I'm going to do something real quick because it's going to bother me. Okay. Now we can continue. Monk not getting the monk passage, yes. Very, very crazy. So now we are going to get going. Because we have gotten what we need from that. And here we're going to see some enemies that we can just kind of go around, hopefully. He's a little active today. But we're just going to do some movement and get away from him really quickly. So currently where we are going is we are essentially climbing upwards. So the goal for this is essentially we have to get a couple of items. We have to meet 2 NPCs. We have to get an additional item that we can actually wear and deliver a total of 3 items to 1 NPC and then go and get the ending. I'll explain what those items and NPCs are in more detail as we come along with them, or get up to them. So, but for now we're going to be doing a bunch of travel today. So we have to go through this region. And something interesting is that these regions are loaded via those specific gates. If I can do this trick. Come on. Alright, we're just going to do that. So we have to go through about a couple of those gates. Got to do that one, and then we have to do one at the top of this map. And clamber a little more and go through a few more gates. Trying to focus on where I'm going. But, like I said, we have to do a bunch of travel. There is a lizard that I don't normally see around here. Hello, guy. That's another one. We're just gonna let him go around. We don't really need to mess with him. We have traveling to do. All right. As you can see, there are many things that want to, eat or consume us. I need to be able to do this. Okay, I'm gonna use that again. So I'm seeing a question, what are the requirements? We have to go talk to a couple of NPCs and take 3 items to one of those NPCs and then go and get the ending. Like I said, I will describe that a little more in detail as we get going. Currently, we are going towards one such NPC, because we have to get something from him. Or a few somethings, actually. Okay, making good time. As you can see in the bottom left, those little pips are our timer for the day. We have to make sure that we get to a safe spot at the end of that timer, or we will get crushed by rain. Have to wait for the region to load in, and then we can get going again. So, while the last region was kind of the second region that you will encounter in a normal playthrough, this is one of those regions you don't necessarily see until later in your playthrough, typically. You see that little yellow guy over there. He acts as your guide kind of throughout the whole campaign and game. And he will direct you someplace else. We're not going to listen to him. We're not going to listen to almost anything that any of the NPCs say, because we are speedrunning and we have places to go. But this place is almost entirely vertical, so you will see me do a lot of climbing and moving around creatures. Excuse me. I'm gonna want to get past this guy. Okay. This is the moment where I reveal some of the changes that Downpour has made. So lizards have something that is called bite RNG. So every lizard has a chance to automatically kill Slugcat, or automatically kill, not automatically kill, has a chance to either stun or kill Slugcat. Kill is the one that we don't want. Grab this fruit right here. But something interesting about Monk is that Monk does not suffer from that RNG. So whenever a lizard bites the Slugcat, Monk specifically, it does not suffer a potential crit to get immediately killed. So we can get stunned, and if we have a spear, it makes it so that we can use the spear, hit the lizard in the face, and it will immediately let us go. So you don't have to fear about dying instantly to one of these lizards, which is extremely useful if you are trying to go places and are avoiding everything. Okay. So we see in the little bottom corner we have our threat meter. There is a vulture. We're gonna try and go past him. He left, so we don't have to worry about it. We're gonna throw our trusty spear over to the side so that we can get some momentum. As I said, this is a physics-based game, so throwing things as you're jumping gives you a little bit of forward momentum that is very necessary for some areas. And now we're moving on to our fourth, but not final, region. Need to make sure that I take a couple of bites of this particular fruit. This is going to be used for a funny trick with the physics later on, should I get unlucky, which, with this place, that is a very real possibility. So now we are in the wall. This is the part where I talk about a little bit about what this place is, because there is, and this is revealed via the lore that you learn by exploring and by kind of going around and picking up little bits and pieces. The world of Rain World is, there are all these boxes that are supercomputers. They're referred to by those supercomputers as cans, but they are these immense and very large and very tall like structures that are pretty much everywhere. You will see them as we get higher, because currently we are climbing the side of one of these supercomputers, which happens to be the first NPC that we need to talk to. And so these particular supercomputers are essentially taller than the clouds that they give off. They kind of breathe in and out and exhale, and to cool... No, I would prefer not to do that, good sir. As they take in water, they have to exhale it, and that creates immense amounts of clouds, because in order to run computers, they have to stay cool, which creates the clouds, which eventually creates the downpour of rain that we, as a little slug cat, have to experience. So, currently we're climbing up, and we're trying to go past the clouds so that we don't have to deal with that anymore. Alright, this is the part where the physics get a little funny. There we go. There's a lizard up there that we're gonna keep an eye out for. He's in my way. Just gonna stab him. No, you cannot crit me. Okay, those two are fighting, so we don't have to really worry about them. They stopped fighting. We now have to worry about them. They left. Alright, everything is well. I'm gonna try to do something funny. There we go. That is a traditional move that was removed previously, but was added back into Downpour. The true veterans will know of the wall pounce, and I found it to be useful in very specific and hilarious circumstances. So I'm gonna try and not get killed by this mimic pole. Alright. And now you can see we are currently above the cloud layer. You'll be able to see it a little better as we go further up, because we are almost halfway through the climb that we have to do here. And you can see in the distance there are more supercomputers known as iterators in the distance, as well as like little communication towers, as well as more of these little overseer guys that are a funny different color. Do some more climbing here. So I believe I have seen 3 white lizards. There are 4 on the wall that we have to keep an eye out for. I don't think they're going to be a problem. All right. Almost done here. So this little funny light is from a lore-specific thing that we're not going to think about, because it doesn't have any importance to what we're currently doing. I have to think about what I'm doing here real quick. All right. And here it is revealed that you can see that there is a city on top of this iterator. There are cities on top of all of the iterators because the people that built them lived on top of the iterators themselves to escape the rain that they gave off. They're no longer around, which is currently not entirely important to our story, but Pebbles, which is the region / iterator we are going to go into / talk to, will probably explain it a little more. I just have to get to him. All right. So, this region we are going into is called Five Pebbles, which is the name of this iterator. And he has a small problem that we don't really need to discuss because it's not really our concern as Monk. We have things to do, like try to find our sibling, and
Also,
build places. I want to make sure that I eat. Very important.
What exactly did you do for that jump room?
Yes.
Getting up to the flat wall.
Oh, yes. So that is what we call a crawl turn vault. It is a series of frame perfect inputs in order to properly attain just insane height. It is a slight exploit of the way that Slugcat can move and what is called some jump storage, which is something that is utilized relatively heavy. Please let me in here. Okay. And it is not the most useful move, but I find it to be useful in those instances. I will go into a little more detail as Pebbles up ahead is going to ramble on because we're not going to listen to anything that he says because we don't really need to. Here is the man. Hello, good sir. Okay. Essentially, the move that I did was you crouch down, and then you press back up and then down in the direction you are facing, as well as jump, and you can get some pretty interesting height. And it's very frame specific, though it has some leeway that you can get some height regardless. So here Pebbles is going to talk about how everyone is in a constant cycle. Death is like sleep, so if you die, you simply wake up again, and it is not the best thing to experience as a sentient creature. And every creature in the Rain world is going through something like this. Pebbles is very frustrated because there are multiple Slugcats that have been going through his everything, trying to look for guidance and whatnot. It turns out that our sibling went this way also, and he's going to give us directions towards somewhere we are not really going to go. But to make sure I get this timing correct, I did not, but it's close enough. Don't move me, please. Thank you. We are technically in what is called a cycle, and Pebbles' creators are also creatures that were in the cycle that have discovered a way to get out of it. And that was sort of where Pebbles was directing us, but that's not really our concern as Monk. We have other things to do, such as grab these little objects here. They are known as neurons. They're technically the brain cells of the iterators, but we're going to eat them. And we're also going to kidnap 2 of them because we need them to take to another iterator that is not in as great a shape as Pebbles. And I'm going the wrong way, but that's going to be fixed. Okay. Need to grab this. Okay, we got 1. We need 1 more. Zero gravity movement inside Pebbles, which is what he uses in order to keep things afloat. It's not the best, but we can manage. All right, we got 2. So we're gonna say hi to Pebbles just 1 more time. Hello, goodbye. He doesn't really want us hanging around too much. But now we have these 2 brain cells that we are going to give to someone who desperately needs them. Although before we do that, we have 1 more task that we have to assign, or we have to go and do a little assignment. And once we do that, we can take all of these lovely little goodies to the said iterator. Okay. And as you can see, something that was added in Downpour was a day-night cycle for the areas where the rain doesn't really affect anything. As we are above the cloud layer, we don't actually get to experience the rain. What we do get to experience is some truly beautiful sunsets, which unfortunately we did not see, as well as a night cycle where everything gets really dark and creatures that you would not normally see come out. We don't have to worry about that because we're not going to deal with them. Because what we are going to do is we are going to immediately sleep because we technically cannot go anywhere. Once you go through one of those little gate structures I've been going back and forth through, you cannot go through them again until the next day. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick sleep here, and then we're going to keep going. We have to do a bit of backtracking so that we can go to a different section of the world. And we're going to get a little cutscene, so it shows that we have met 5 Pebbles. And something I did not mention was that Pebbles also gives you the capability to communicate with him and other creatures that have the Enlightenment or Mark of Communication. So we can now talk to others of his kind as well. So as I said, we're just going to do a bit of backtracking here. We're going to go back down the wall and down chimney canopies so that we can go someplace else. And we also have to babysit this little neuron and make sure that we don't drop it. So that is something we will have to think about. But this is currently what we're going to be having in our hands, roughly, for the next little leg of this journey. Okay. Whoops. Okay. Going to do another frame perfect move called an EI hop, which is known as an extended instant hop. Just so that we can get a little more motion with a mix of extended slides, which is essentially throwing an item behind you at a very specific point in order to get a bit more momentum you wouldn't normally get. We're gonna go around this strange phenomena, and we're gonna hop down here. And come down this way. It's always just a little bit nerve-wracking taking those little leaps of faith, but everything is okay. There are lizards fighting. They went into the other room, so now we can leave. They're currently fighting, so we don't want to bother them. He's going to try and kill us. That's not really our problem. This guy is a bit of a problem. He needs to move, but I think he's gonna shove out of the way. All right. Very polite lizard, that one. Okay, just a bit more falling. There we go. Uh-oh. That is something that we have to watch out for. I thought I had the proper input, but I did not. So, that's alright. Death is much like sleep, so we will wake up, and we will go, and we will do the thing again. Minor bit of time loss, but it's okay. There's a reason that we save. One thing Monk is not immortal to, and that is falls from great heights. Unfortunately. Unfortunately, we will have to take that long stretch of horizontal ground, but I'll try to make the trip just a little quick. Okay. Just trying to focus on moving so we can make this transition a little faster than before. All right. It's all right. We'll be fine. Gonna want to prioritize, uh-oh. We want to prioritize spears over rocks because the spears are what's going to help keep us out of the jaws of creatures such as that. It's okay. This is the part where you have a little bit of faith that he's going to go upwards and then get bothered by that other lizard up there. No, that lizard unfortunately is blind. No, he's going around the other way. Nope, he's going back up. He's afraid of the pole mimic there, so he doesn't really want to go anywhere. The AI is trying to path in the most efficient way possible, but it's also afraid of the other creature, so it doesn't really know what to do. So we're gonna go ahead and restart. Okay. Wall gameplay. Do some more movement, lessen the amount of time it takes to get places. Something to bear in mind is that this game can be very punishing at times. And I mean that as a compliment. It does not hold your hand in the sense that it wants you to make mistakes and learn. It's very supportive of you trying things and learning from mistakes. So it absolutely can and will kill you. It does not matter how good at the game that you are. And all you have to really do is try and try again. And eventually, you will be able to get through. They're both in my way. Directly in front of me. Okay, they both tried to chase after me through the room. I'm just gonna scoot past this guy. So something that Monk does have in their court, they do less damage than your typical slugcat, but they are also extremely quiet. So lizards don't naturally notice them like they would other slugcats. So you can kind of like sneak by them and just kind of lurk just outside of their vision most of the time. We're gonna go to the right here so that we don't do what we did before. Okay. And now we can see a different region. Just kidding. There was one more screen. All right. So, as I said before, we're going to do some backtracking so that we can go into, we can take a different path. We're going back to Industrial Complex, which was the second region that we visited. And to do that, we have to do just a little more descending. And hopefully we don't fall into any bottomless pits while we do so. I'm going to throw the neuron over there because you can and you will eat it if you hold the wrong inputs. And I want to eat to full here, so I don't have to worry about food later on. A lot of this run is, towards the beginning, doing a bunch of setup for later game placements. The food has very specific placements, and you have to bear that in mind while you are running, or else you will find that you will be starving later on. And that is something that we want to avoid. I also wanted to avoid that, but it's okay. He is so skinny. That's a very skinny blue lizard. So, I should say that each of the creatures are randomly generated to have very specific traits. So lizards will have different looking fins, even lizards of the same type. They will have different sizes and shapes to them. So you'll see lizards that are particularly thin, some that are particularly chunky, and they're all unique. Some of them will be different colors than others. You see this most notably with the pink lizards, particularly in this run, as well as with yellow lizards. Some of the pink lizards will be more purple, some of them will be more red. They have a lot of color variation, and you can see this with other creatures like vultures or the little egg bugs that we saw beforehand, which adds just a little bit of uniqueness to every little bit of Rainwold that you do see, which I think is really interesting. And something to also add is that they all have their individual AI. Some creatures will be more active than others, some will be more apt to chase you rather than just sitting by and just letting you pass. It really adds to the fact that every run here is relatively unique and at least somewhat based in RNG, but generally that tends to keep me just on my toes. So Helps you pay attention to what you're doing. Hopefully, we won't have to deal with a creature being particularly forceful when it comes to chasing us. This guy might prove to be a problem. Never mind. That was a little close, but it's okay. That was one of the more detailed creatures, the scavengers. Hopefully we won't have to deal with them until a little later, which I think I will go into more detail when we're seeing them a little more actively, and I can describe their motions a little more. But I will say those creatures are very interesting, unique, and if you do not take into account such of their like uniqueness or careful movements that they do in terms of how the AI works and how they're coded, they can and will kill you. They're very dangerous. But as I said, we will go into more detail about them later because we will have to see them a lot more. So now we are entering a place called Shaded Citadel, which the little title screen will come up in a little second here, which effectively is underneath the iterator that we had just visited. So because it is, and it lives in the shadows of places, this is also a very dark region to traverse. And as such, there are also a lot of unique creatures that live here as well. One such are these little lantern mice that are terrified of Slugcat and can hang from the walls, but they serve as minute light sources if you can pick them up and drag them along places. We don't need to do that because we have eaten a neuron, which gives us a natural glow. Thank you for slinging me to the right. I really wanted to go that way. Very considerate of you. That pink glitter is not usually in that, but it is something we have to think about. Okay. I'm going to choose not to use these blue fruits because they're flashbangs and they provide a great amount of flashing for the screen, and I'm going to avoid that. You can use them to kill the light-sensitive spiders that linger in these areas, but we don't need to do that because, again, we already have light and they don't like it very much. Excuse me. So what we're going to do after the next couple of screens here is we're going to take a quick rest because the cycle will be ending soon. And also, we need to get a total of 2 rests before we go to the next, like, important part of our journey. Because we're going to need a couple of passages, and this will provide a good little safety point before any such thing is happening. Also, it's getting ready to rain, and we want to avoid that. So we will go over here. All right. So I'm going to do something I don't typically do in a run because we're going to be doing something a little risky, and if you're going for a good time, you would not necessarily take this rest, but because I am not going for a time, I just want to continue forward. So we're going to take a quick safety rest before we do the risky strat. Because it can be a bit hit or miss depending on how the AI wants to treat us today. Okay. Come on. That's close enough. We'll take it. Okay, we're going to just pounce off of this, grab onto this pole. This is one of those bridges that has claimed many a slugcat in days gone by, so we want to be very careful about how we go about going over it. Okay, I'm going to throw this neuron because I'm going to eat too full here. And I don't want to accidentally eat the neuron while I'm trying to eat in general, because that will be very bad. So now we are heading into a region called Shoreline, which is on the edge of the coast. So it is kind of your typical water level. It is not the water level that we're going to have to think a little more carefully about, but it is something that we are going to have to traverse through a great amount of water in order to get the places we need. Oh, that was a little scary. Ooh. All right. Another thing about Monk is that Monk does not have as great a breath timer as other slugcats. You'll notice this in the first few sections. This little white meter shows off how much breath I have left before I start, or before I fully drown. By the time it gets to about 2 or so pips is kind of when things start to get a little dicey, and we need to get out of the water almost immediately. We want to avoid that as much as possible, but as I said, Monk has smaller lungs compared to your average slugcat, as well as your average slugcat being the survivor. So we want to be very careful about how we go about swimming here, because we do not have anything currently that will help prevent us from drowning. So these guys are going to prove to be a bit of a nuisance. They like to mess around and play and throw you into the water and bump into you a lot. So we want to be wary of them. They seem like they're going to be relatively nice today. So we're just going to skate on by. Okay, we're going to drop down here. Do a bit more swimming. And then here, we're going to take this little neuron out of our stomach, which serves as a storage space where nothing can get at the item itself. We're gonna just take that out because we need the storage for later. We're gonna set it to the side because we're going to come back to the shelter via the passage or fast travel that I was talking about beforehand at the very beginning of the run. So you will see here, this passage button over here. We will have to use that later on. Very, very important that we do not use that before it's time. So I'm going to do one more safety rest. It's going to require me to... I have to get one more fruit, but I'm not going to worry too hard about it. What I am going to worry about is going over to the left here so we can grab one of those jetfish. They are movement tools that you can use to get through this water a little more quickly. And because monk's lungs are a little fragile and do not hold that much breath, we need them in order to get to the next spot we are going to. I do want to grab a fruit from this area real quick. We will grab him again. He's waiting very patiently for us. Okay, and now we are off. So now we're going to get into the true water level, which is a region that was added in Downpour, as well as the specific item that was also added. And it requires a very lengthy trip through a lot of water. This region specifically is accessible via one of the slug cats that was added in Downpour, one of the newer campaigns. But you can also get into it. Please. You can also get into it via Monk or Survivor, a few others. Okay, we've caught our breath, so we need to swim down this way. And canonically, Monk, in the canon story, went into this area to grab a very important item for the NPC that we are going to visit soon. So, as a part of the story, we have to go through this area and get that important item and bring it back to her. So we're gonna go through this gate here. It's a little messed up because this area is in a great amount of disrepair. This is the innards of an iterator that has fallen into the ocean itself. She has collapsed into it. And this is the structure that once was high up above before it collapsed, and is now filled with a bunch of scary water that hopefully will not be our doom. But we're going to take another quick rest here so that we can save our progress. Here's some of the new Downpour music. As well as get the second passage that we need, which is the Survivor passage, which is surviving at maximum karma for 5 days/cycles. So now we have to traverse through the submerged superstructure so that we can get to the item that we need. Okay. We're not going to need that. We're going to eat these two so that we can rest later. So, these little plants that we've been seeing around are known as bubbleweed, and these are going to provide us with enough air so that we can traverse these underwater areas without fear of properly drowning. They enable us to dash underwater, which typically would use breath, but does not if you are holding the bubbleweeds. So hopefully we will be able to get here without any particular harm. There are creatures that can lurk underwater. One I really hope we do not see, but we probably will. Come on, there we go. Okay, so we need to get rid of this bubbleweed because it no longer will help us get to the area we need, which is why we swallowed this bubbleweed back there. Using that storage to keep it so that it does not use up any of the bubbles on it. I have to mentally prepare myself because there can be a very, very scary contender here. I don't see him, so we're going to run as fast as possible. There's a very large creature, one of the biggest creatures in Rainworld, that lurks in that specific room that is called a Leviathan, and its mouth will open and snap shut on you and kill you instantly, as most things do. And can be very, very unfortunate when you're trying to get through these particular areas. Okay, we're gonna just boost our way this way. Go through another exit here. We're gonna go to the right, because we need to keep holding right in terms of these passages, because the object that we need is on the very edge of the rightmost of this map. So this is why we're taking this particular extremely right direction here. Ooh. Okay, and you'll notice I am dropping bubbleweed and then grabbing new bubbleweed. It's because the swim that we are taking will not allow our old bubbleweed to carry us. We will drown before we get to the next area with bubbleweed. So, thankfully, bubbleweed is in place in every little air pocket, so we can just drop our bubbleweed, grab a fresh one, and then just continue on with our lives. And so that will enable us to not drown horrifically in these particular areas. Here's a hidden exit that we can take in order to take a little shortcut this way. We need to go to the right. Okay. And because there's another little swimming area on the far right of this that we need to keep in mind, we're going to swim on the top of this so that we do not drown trying to get into this exit on the right here. Okay, I'm gonna dive down quickly. Swim past these little fruits. They can hinder you if you run into them, so we're gonna try and avoid them as best we can. All right. You can hear a little heartbeat, but don't worry about it. I'm gonna dip down here. Go through these pipes, also known as vents. We're gonna swim straight upwards, if I can see where I am. Gonna get a little bit of lag because the music is encoded and does not want to, it takes a little bit to load, but it's not really our concern. And there we have the item that we need, which happens to be a very fashionable cloak. So we are going to wear this all the way until we can give it to the intended iterator. I'm gonna grab one of these jellyfish so that I can eat it later. I'm gonna grab both of them actually so I don't get shocked by them. There we go. I swim through here. All right, we're gonna rest here because now what we are going to do is we are going to passage back to the shelter where we left all of the neurons, so that we can use, so that we can grab the neurons, so we can have the cloak, and so we can move on. Because though we do not have a remix setting that allows key items to be taken with us, the cloak is physically on Monk. So when we passage, it passages with us because we are currently wearing it. Similar in the vein of store items in Monk will passage with you. So we're going to fast travel. We get this fun little menu. I have to find out where we're going. And we have a couple of dens that we slept at. Make sure it's the right one. And then we are there. So we don't need this per se, but we do need this. Alright, here comes the favorite part of the run, because with the specific move that I use to get up these poles called fast pole climbing, it makes the physics look really funny with the cloak. And I just enjoy it so much. To just see the cloak just move about wildly. Alright, so now we have to continue going over this way so that we can go see the iterator that we are going to give all of these things to. We have maybe one more obstacle in our way that could be kind of a big problem, but thankfully I do not see the threat meter going up, which is a good indicator for off-screen creatures that could be a distinct threat to the slug cat. It's not lighting up, so I don't think he is here. As much as I think the Leviathan is cool, I really do not want to see him, so I do not think we will get to see it for today. Accidentally boosted too much, so need a moment to breathe. And then we are off. So this iterator, as the little title card will say, is called Looks to the Moon. And as you can see, she's not in the best shape. Clearly does not have the neurons flying around or the zero gravity that Five Pebbles has. So we're going to give her a bit of help and some fancy clothes. But we have to go through... Uh-oh. That's a spear. Alright. I saw where both of the neurons landed, so it wasn't a big problem. It was just kind of funny. Alright. So we're going to use our roll pounces that we've been using periodically here. On every third pounce, you get a little boost. I grabbed the wrong pole there, which was my mistake. You get a lot more upwards air than you would on your other pounces, which enables us to get enough height to do that. So we're just going to hop along this little pole here, go through a couple more screens, and then we should be able to move on with our lives. And here we see Looks to the Moon. She's just hanging out, but she did see us. We're going to throw one neuron at her. As we go about this, we're going to try and give her all of the things at once in order to skip some of the dialogue, because when she first takes the first neuron, she does a bit of exposition to get, or to give a bit more lore behind some things that are going on in the background that we as Monk don't really care about, because we're just looking for our sibling. Though it is vaguely important, she talks about Five Pebbles being in a bad position and our little journey, but we don't want that. So she's going to comment on the cloak here, and we're going to wait for her to put it on just to make sure that she does, in fact, put it on. As you walk away, she will just kind of stop talking, so we need to make sure that she actually puts the cloak on. So she'll ramble here for a little bit. It's perfect. And now we can leave. Looks great. And now we must go, because we have things we must do. So that is about 2/3 of our tasks completed. Now what we have to do is we have to go towards the end of the game, which for us is going to be the far west of the map. Not far west and down into the earth below, as Five Pebbles told us, because we're not going to listen to him. We are going on a different path. which requires some food. So we're going to take the shelter to the left here. Or just a little more climbing. We're going to eat these in the shelter as it's closing, because that will just save us a few more seconds. So we don't have to stop and try to eat them. And we're going to get a little cutscene to show that we were hanging out with Moon for the day. You can see the little neurons here and there. These cutscenes serve as little echoes of what the survivor, our sibling, has gone through previously. They had gone to Looks at the Moon, they went to Pebbles, and then they went somewhere else, but we're not really sure. I made a mistake, which was my bad. I forgot what I was doing very briefly. So we're going to take a small time loss and eat again and sleep. What we need to do is we need to come down here. What we're supposed to do is we're supposed to passage, but I forgot briefly. No big deal. I'm going to go to where the water is less turbulent because we can't eat in the water. Alright. We're going to be out of food when we passage, but it's okay because we can always get more. That is absolutely my mistake. I'm surprised that happened. But it is alright. It is an easily fixable mistake. Okay, now we'll get back on track. And though I could have starved to try and passage, you can't actually passage while you are starving. So we have to make sure that we get enough proper food in order to go places. So here we're going to actually press the passage button instead of continuing on, which is the survivor passage. And then we're going to go back to the first shelter that we slept in because it is very close to, compared to everywhere else, a lot closer to where we need to go rather than everywhere else. So we're going to go back to this den and we are going to go straight west. And kind of take a similar path. I'm gonna avoid this lizard here because it's really hungry and it wants to eat us. There we go. And I'm going to be keeping the spear on me for just a little bit. I actually want to eat this food, so I don't have to think about it for later. Okay, we're going to move past these little squidcadas, so we don't need to do anything with them. They might get in our way and might bully us a little bit, but we're going to be forgiving and not hold it against them. Alright, so currently what we're going to do is we're going to pass something called... a scavenger toll. I didn't want to grab that. You can have that. And scavenger tolls require a very specific amount of goods to be given. Though they value pearls, we couldn't actually grab a pearl throughout our little journey because we had to use our storage for something else. So we're gonna grab this karma flower and these cherry bomb, and we're gonna try and get their attention. Yes. Hello? I have goods. Okay, we have to trade with them cherry bomb, a karma flower, and hopefully a spear. And they will allow us through. Here, take. Okay, he's going to wave us through, which means we are legally allowed to pass. Which is very respectable of him. I'm gonna grab one of their pearls when they're not looking, so that we can use it for later. So, something about the scavengers is that, unlike a lot of the other creatures in Rain World, they are much more intelligent. They have a culture and a society which is based around these little tribes that they have. They value pearls most of all and prefer those when trading with them. And they have a set value for items depending on their use or whether or not they are pearls. And they have specific motions for specific things. Like you saw the one waving me through, and that essentially is you've paid the amount you can come through. They will point at you. They can scratch the ground to indicate they want something in your hands. And they can react to the sound that you make by kind of like flinching sometimes. And they each have individual personalities, much like other creatures, but just a little more detailed. Some of them are a little more aggressive than others, some of them a little more skittish, all dependent on the scavenger, which makes them incredibly unique. We're gonna just give that guy a little pat on the back there, so we can just go around him. So we're gonna come up upon scavengers once more, a couple more times as we continue on here. So the reason we take that pearl back there is so that we can trade with those scavengers too, because that is also another scavenger toll. We don't have to worry about it right now. I'm gonna just do some funny movement to get up this way. Alright. That is a vulture. We're gonna let him have the little squids as snacks. This caramel lizard, which we will find a few here. We want to poke him so that he will go through this pipe. It kind of feels like he wants to go. There he goes. He just wasn't really sure about it. He had to really think about, where he was going. Again, happens to the best of us. Okay, I'm gonna hope that I get the thing here. I did not, so we're just gonna do a little roll pounce. We're gonna get immediately flung off because this guy's a jerk. But he didn't see us that second time, so we can continue on. There's a lizard there. We're gonna hope he doesn't drop in on us. He thought about it, but we're gonna ignore him anyway. This is the part I'm going to check the timer. Because we have to do something specific. We have to go and find another creature that will help us get through this next area, because this is where those little patches of grass that keep reaching for us are called worm grass. And in this area, there's a lot more of them than we as the little slug cat can handle. So we're gonna take the Spore Puff, which attracts what is known as a reindeer, to our location so we can grab onto their antlers and have a little ride to the next area we need to go to. I'm going to check the map to see if I can see one of them. It looks like there might be one. I'm going to throw a Spore Puff at my location. Because I don't have a lot of time. So I want to make sure that... Okay, he's right there. I want to make sure that I can get to this next area. There is a riskier strat to do this, to get across this particular area, but we're just gonna take it easy, and we're gonna take it slow. We're gonna just use the reindeer. Come on, buddy. I know, it's very hard. Alright, so we're gonna wiggle around, and we're gonna get him to go in the direction we want him to go. This is the newer tweaked deer AI that enables us to kind of shake their antlers and point them in a direction. Is highly useful. Because sometimes they're not sure where you want to go, and they just kind of do their own thing, which doesn't exactly coincide with what you want. So giving them a bit of direction helps lead them. And for this next area, we're going to take a quick rest, because the deer, like every other creature, goes to dens to rest for the night. So they don't get crushed by rain. And they refuse to move in a direction you want them to go when the rain is almost up, like it is about now. So we need to rest to reset the timer so that we can get deer to come around and so we can direct them more aptly. We're gonna see a cutscene from Survivor looking at Looks at the Moon. But we've already met Looks at the Moon, so it's not really our problem. Alright, now we're gonna continue on. We're gonna see an enemy we haven't seen before, known as the yellow lizards. They are pack hunters. Unlike all of the other lizards, they can communicate with each other. And so if one of them knows where you are, they all know where they are, or they all know where you are, my mistake. And that can prove to be a bit nerve-wracking. But something we have in our court is that they tend to be a little weird, in the sense that they're not the most agile of creatures. So we're gonna do generally just hopping over them. They don't have enough of a good... They don't have a good enough a reaction time to really counter it. So we're just gonna leave them in our dust. Okay. So we're gonna hope that there is a deer over here. And if there's not, we're gonna use our fancy little Spore Puff here. I don't see the grass being active. So we're gonna throw a Spore Puff. And we're going to drop down here. You can see that there's a bit of Spore Puffs left here, so that we can aptly get the deer that we need. But now that we have called the deer, we can actually get places. We're gonna set this right here. You're going this way. Come on. There we go. I don't want to give him that Spore Puff because I want to have it for later. So we're just gonna go on a little ride, and we're just gonna sit here for a little while he thinks about whether or not to kill us. I don't think he will, though. All right. On this particular area, it can get a little dicey because sometimes the deer can trip and fall. And if they hit you too hard against the ground, you'll let go, and it can kill you instantly. But with the tweaked deer AI, that's been fixed a lot more, and it's a little more bearable, which is rather nice. I like not being flung into the ground to die horrifically. All right. Now we are going to grab this little baby centipede. And we're gonna get moving. We have a lot of time, but I'm going to take a safety save a little down the line here. Because as highly as I've seemed to have spoken about the scavengers, I do not trust them. And things can be a little scary around them. So we're gonna spit out this pearl, and we're gonna eat this Horpuff. This pearl, we need to get past another scavenger toll, so... So this is that fissure that Pebbles was talking about. Technically, he wants us to go down a lot further. And though we are going to take just a little bit of a trip downwards, we're going to immediately cut to the left. Because we don't need to go down to where the land fissures further and further. There's a centipede in our way. I think. Okay, he moved out of the way, so we're just gonna quickly sneak along here. He didn't see us, so he doesn't know. And we're gonna take one of the newer shelters that Downpour's added. This is a newer room, and it's this lovely little train shelter. Which is very nice. We're just gonna hang up here and just relax. We're gonna get another vision here, which very interesting, very trippy, but we're not gonna listen to it. It's not where we're going. We're gonna eat the centipede because we need the food, and we're gonna get going. We're going to continue westward instead of downwards. To another region that was added via Downpour, called the Outer Expanse. It was a region, yet another region that was exclusive to one of the newer slug cats that was added in Downpour, but it is also accessible for Survivor and Monk. So, as Monk, we're going to go that way because that is where our end game is. So this is the final region that we will be traversing. We're almost at the end of the run here. So, though I think this run has gone pretty well, we still want to be careful because there's a lot of things that can happen here that we have to be wary about. Up ahead, there is a scary centipede that can hurt us, which we're not going to try and mess with, though he might want to mess with us. Huh. We're just gonna sneak past him. And we're gonna run. We're gonna run very fast. We're gonna run away. So we don't have to deal with them. Here we're gonna put in Pass through here. We're going to do some funny movement we did not intend to do. Alright. We are now coming up on our second scavenger toll. So this area is outside of the sort of grounds of either of the iterators that we have visited. It's just, well, the outer expanse of the place, which is actually where our slug cats come from. There's an area that is a little more familiar via the opening cutscene, but this is the area where we had previously been before we jumped in after our sibling. So we're going to try and make it back home. Hi. Take Pearl. Okay. So we paid them. They're not going to try and kill us for trying to scam them. So it is here that, though technically we do not need to rest again, I'm going to take another safety rest. And this is going to be the final rest of the run. We're going to try and traverse the rest of the area in a very orderly yet fast manner. I'm going to do some fast pole climbs, which I don't think I have described yet, is essentially Slugcat can boost up the pole, but if you press jump again, it will let go of the pole. Whoops. Something like that. And it will allow Slugcat to re-grab the pole as long as you are holding upwards, which is very useful to get around a little faster than you would normally. One of those quick movement techs that we have to utilize in a general run. So we're going to go up this way. We're going to take this lower exit here, because what we want to do now is we want to go as western as we possibly can. Use these little trees here to get past the worm grass below there, because it can and will grab onto Monk and kill them, so we want to avoid that. And just kind of vibe and look at the pretty sights here. I tend to think of this place as one of the more beautiful regions. It's just got a lot of good visuals here. Green! Green! Don't usually see one of those. Alright, cool. We're gonna move on. Okay, there's a lizard down here that we're gonna hope. Woo! We're just gonna ignore all of that and pretend everything is okay. Excuse me, sir. I have places I need to go. Don't! No! Ah! Ah! He wasn't aiming for me, he was aiming at the overseer, but that was still really terrifying. But everything's okay. Alright. That green overseer's following us now. The significance of that overseer is essentially each of the iterators have a specific overseer color. Looks of the Moon has yellow, Five Pebbles has blue, and so traversing through the areas, you will regularly see those ones. This green one belongs to a different iterator from a much further area, so to see them is relatively rare. I'm not entirely sure what the chances are in terms of outer expanse, but I know that I have not seen one yet, so that is extremely neat. The run has been blessed. So we are going to not go left. We have to do a bit of some strange maneuvering here. We have to go to the right rather than the left because we have to dip down here. And I'm just going to kind of carry this little guy. This is a yeek. They're like little frog dudes that help you jump really high, and they make really cute noises. They're one of my favored additions to Downpour. Have to be careful of these centipedes because they are scary. A fun little factoid is currently what's on my yeek is called a green leech, and they are apparently a little more susceptible to electricity than your average leech. They tend to draw out the life force of whatever they're attached to, which we're not going to worry about for our little yeek friend. He'll be fine. But they can be grabbed onto by the little centipedes, or if you're holding the centipede. If you have a green leech on you while you're holding the centipede, it can and will kill you. So we have to be a little careful with that. But it's not really something we're going to have to be concerned about right now. So we are almost towards the end, actually. We're almost home. Uh-oh. Huh. We're going to avoid that giant centipede as efficiently as we possibly can. That was a bit scary. So around this point, we're gonna... I don't know. What is he doing? Our little yeek friend has garnered a lot of leeches, which is really unfortunate. Ah! There are a lot of things happening right now. Oh! Oh, 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 oh. Okay. We're gonna throw that at him because the spore puffs are very detrimental to insects, such as the centipede. So now that he is dead, we can continue on with our lives. And I believe that will be the last obstacle that we come into contact with. Now all we have to focus on is beating the game. I was really worried about that centipede because they're almost always in your way. That one specifically, he's always here, and he can be a little troublesome, which is why we stored that spore puff from before. But we are almost there now. We're gonna grab a little yeek friend and take him with us. He gives us just a little more air that we normally wouldn't have, so we can chain these rolls a little faster. Helps us go through these horizontal areas a lot more. We're almost there. So close. And now we are automatically running with no further inputs from me. as we come to a stop at this great tree that you should recognize from the start, as we have finally made it back home. And as we see, we find that Monk has found their sibling, the survivor, with some slug pups that they are taking care of. And they finally can reunite back home, which I always think is a neat ending. But yeah, that was Monk Story Percent. I hope you all enjoyed. I hope that this was all right. I liked this run. This was a good run, and it was very fun.
Yes. Thank you
So,
for the run, Nanoferret.
take it away.
For everyone that's just been here for a little bit, or otherwise,
Mhm.
this was the story category, specifically for Monk, where Monk is going to get 2 neurons from Pebbles, bring them to Moon, and also get Moon's cape and bring it to her, and then end in the Outer Expanse ending. This is also a teaser run that we're having for the event that we're hosting in July 8th, the weekend of July 8th. Right now, we're accepting any runs, either speedruns, score runs, or showcases of the game in general in our Discord, which a link for that. Specifically, the marathon name is Summer in Shoreline, and we are raising money for Rainforest Trust charity. Out with we'll have more information as time goes on. Eventually we'll have volunteer positions as well. But right now we're just trying to get people interested in the event. And yes. Right. Thank you all for watching here today. It's always great to see a bunch of people show up for these little events that we're hosting. And thank you for doing the run as well, Nanoferret. And we will say when we have another
You
one
are
of these
very
teaser
welcome.
videos, but otherwise, yes. Currently, I have the runner submissions open if you want to do a run in the marathon, and the Discord where you can get pings about whenever an event or maybe volunteer submissions are open is here. In the chat, that is. Otherwise, just following this Twitch and then going up when it's happening is always very helpful. Not ready for speedrunning, this makes me want to try. Well, if you can beat the game, you can speedrun the game. Most of it's all on just knowing the route, and a lot of other people have done a lot with the route already. You don't need to know any crazy movement or anything, it's all about the route. Some runs might be harder or easier than others, but it's all about just doing whatever is more interesting. Yes. Alright. We're gonna go off for now. Yes. Thank you everyone for watching.
You're welcome. Hope everyone has a fantastic Sunday or whatever.